Joining us now is our Activist of the Week, Jotaka Eddie. She's the Senior Director for Voting Rights at the NAACP. Jotaka, welcome to the program.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. So first, tell me what you make of the arguments at the Supreme Court this past week over the Voting Rights Act.
Well, there are a lot of thoughts after those the oral arguments. First of all, we in the entire voting rights and civil rights and human rights community, we are very hopeful and optimistic that the Supreme Court will weigh the substantial amount of evidence that was put before it and really listen to the wonderful arguments made by the attorneys in the case and really proving that there is a very serious need for Section 5 in this day and time, that Shelby County has not evolved and Shelby County has not met the necessary threshold to remove itself from Section 5 protection, that voting rights is not a racial entitlement and that voting rights is an American entitlement. We are hopeful that we will have a decision. We expect a decision in June that reflects this day and time, particularly in light of the vast amount of voter suppression that we witnessed in 2011. There were, more than 180 legislative measures proposed in 2011 and some in 2012, and we're still seeing voter suppression measures passed this legislature still today, even this year after the election. So it's very clear that while much has changed, and yes, we've seen a lot of growth, that much still remains the same, and we hope that the Supreme Court will recognize that and the justices will review the thousands of pages of evidence and documents that the U.S. Congress actually looked at 7 years ago, where bipartisan Congress reauthorized the Voting Rights Act and felt that there was need for Section 5, and that need is still here today, and it's evident in the fact that we saw Section 5 stop discrimination at the ballot box in 3 states in this past election.
We're talking with Jotaka Eddie. She's the Senior Director for Voting Rights at the NAACP. She's also our Activist of the Week. And Jotaka, you mentioned all the efforts across the country to essentially disenfranchise voters by putting up new hurdles. For folks who are listening in cities and counties across the country who want to do something, who want to take action to sort of assure that their votes are counted, that they're allowed to sort of register, what is it that they can do in their own communities?
Well, the first thing that we all should do in our own communities is register to vote. It's important that we're all registered to vote. The ballot box is the way that we can advocate on all of the issues that we care about. When we cast that very important vote, one person, one vote, we make our voices heard, whether our biggest concern is criminal justice or gun violence in our community, or if our biggest concern is the education of our children, or access to health care, or climate change in our community, or jobs. The way that we most advocate is through the ballot box and through voting. And so that's the first thing that I would strongly suggest, that we register to vote. But number two, I would strongly suggest that you get involved and join an organization like the NAACP or another organization in your local community to advocate. First and second, after that, I think we have to get educated. We have to understand what's happening in our communities, what's happening at the state legislative level in our country. So much is happening. We've got to be aware. We've got to be willing to take action, whether we're picking up the phone and calling our local elected official on a measure that would potentially suppress votes at the state legislative level, or advocating for measures that would expand voting. While we are seeing a massive amount of voter suppression take place across the country still this year, we're also seeing some bold, courageous legislators step up in state legislatures across the country to, let's really deal with this problem. Let's expand early voting. Let's expand same-day registration. Let's deal with the restoration of rights for people with felony convictions, and let's make our democracy what we believe that our founding fathers really strive for, in terms of one voice, one person, one vote, and truly a democracy that works for all Americans.
Joteka Eddy, she's a senior director for voting rights at the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. It is the nation's oldest and largest civil rights organization. Joteka, for our activists of the week, we always ask them a bit of advice. What one piece of advice would you give to people who are considering activism, either in their daily lives or even just occasionally?
You know, the advice that I would give to anyone who's considering is never let doubt keep you from stepping into your greatness. Often we feel that, you know, we're just one person and it's hard to make a difference, but one person can make a huge difference. You know, whether you're picking up the phone from the comfort of your living room and calling your local elected official, or whether you're getting on your email and writing a letter, or whether you're talking to your neighbors, you know, you can actually do a lot as one individual, and we can never, ever, ever, as Margaret Mead said, doubt that the actions of...
That's right. I got to cut it there so we hit a break. Joteka Eddy, our activist of the week. Joteka, thanks for being on the program. Take Action News continues after this.